part of the episode where I say, "Oh boy," breaks my heart. It breaks my heart. You know, it breaks my faith of the heart, Scott Bakula. Quantum Leap was like I just quantum leapt back into the glory days of 1989.
Quantum Leap was... It was. Sure was, wasn't it?
Quantum Leap was a socially distant experiment that went completely awry.
So distant.
Did it?
Or did it? So distant that they took it into the past. Hey, everybody, welcome to Fallingtower's Watch the First podcast, the podcast in which we interrupt our guests.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
I think I'm the guest.
We watch the first episode of a series, so you don't have to. Or we watch it if you just want to see how we react to your favorite or least favorite series. If you think something's crazy and weird, tell us to watch it, and we will. WTF in the comments below. Say WTF Star Trek The Next Generation, or WTF Frasier if you want to watch the first Frasier.
And WTF MacGyver, another 80s.
That's a good one. Dun, 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 dun,
I got a question.
dun.
When is it going to be a WTF?
Stay tuned for that answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So probably never, yeah, but okay.
With us, as always, Mr. Michael Kenyon Rosenberg, writer, comedian, actor, musician. And today joining us, superstar, sci-fi actor, action thriller hero, samurai. He looks like he belongs in The Warriors from the late 70s or Enter the Dragon.
That's right, baby.
Rico E. Anderson.
The Fro knows.
His name, just to piss people off, is Rico. Don't call me Rico Anderson.
Sucker.
I'm going to get you, sucker. So today we are reviewing Quantum Leap, Genesis, which is September 13th, 1956, Part 1. And this was suggested to us by a very cool guy, Mr. Lawrence Niels of Geek Life Rules. Thank you for doing that. That was during Virtual TrekCon. He mentioned that. So we did it for you. We hope you enjoy it. How you guys doing?
Great.
I'm all right.
Doing good. Props
Awesome.
to Lawrence, because I love this show. I
Just
really
want
love
to show you guys that we do listen to your comments, and if you suggest a show, we might watch it.
Yeah, we might.
Even if it's painful to Ryan.
Now,
Stay
for the
tuned.
record, they never listen to me.
Yeah.
Well, you never write in our comments.
Well, he's
Write in
been
our comments.
suggesting Punky Brewster since March.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Henry!
But he
I'm
didn't
just
put it in
saying.
the comments, though, so...
Punker.
We didn't
Tough
listen.
guy that likes Punky Brewster. I don't know what to tell you guys.
Cherry! That's what she said.
What was
Anyway.
it the Fonz liked? The Fonz really liked something that was really like very un-Fonz-like. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah.
You guys, we're talking about Quantum Leap today, by the way.
I like that all the titles of the Quantum Leap episodes had the year in it. Like this was Genesis, September 13th, 1956, Part 1. I didn't know that. That was pretty cool that they have the date. That's like a little spoiler that you already know where they're going, beforehand. So,
Oh boy.
Yeah, that's my favorite. So here's the thing. The way we start every show is we talk about what
Synopsis.
we expected.
Synopsis.
Shit, you're right. We do talk about the synopsis. Go ahead and hit us with that, Michael.
Ryan loves to forget everything. Don't forget also to leave us a like and subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that bell icon for. I always say bell notifications, but what I really mean is the bell icon to receive notifications. See? So for the synopsis of Quantum Leap, former scientist, I don't know why it says former scientist, he is a scientist, right? Former scientist
That's
Sam
true.
Beckett finds himself trapped in time due to an experiment gone awry, leaping into the body of a different person each week. Al Calavici, at first known only as the Observer, is Sam's holographic advisor. He provides Sam with some details about his new identity and gives him guidance on how to help the people affected by his presence. But with little memory to help guide him, our hero is forced to bluff his way through many a wacky situation. In this episode, on the premiere episode, it says on the premiere episode of Quantum Leap, Sam Beckett wakes up in 1956, disoriented, suffering from amnesia, but he has the awful realization that he does not belong there. ...
You know, it's funny when you said that, I was thinking that's probably his best pickup line too. You know, I have to leap inside of someone else's body every week, right?
You know, Sam's a good-looking guy, so I'm sure it works. You know, it's one of those things where the ladies are probably like, okay.
They say like, they're like, what leap? Well, it's a quantum leap. Oh,
I don't even understand that.
Sounds smart. So after that, what we like to do on this show is we like to compare and contrast what we expected and what we got. So first we talk about what we expected before we watched it, and then we say what we got. Michael, what did you expect before you saw this first episode?
So what I was expecting was a cool science fiction television show from the late 80s with Scott Bakula as Dr. Samuel Beckett. I guess it just says Sam Beckett.
Every now and then I think they mention Samuel, but
all right.
What about you, Rika? What did you expect before you watched this?
I expected a, I'm a huge time travel fan. I love a good time travel story. So honestly, I expected some of the basic elements of what time travel entails with there's a machine or there's a thing that, punches you into the next whatever era. But they got me because the time travel is actually through the mind.
That's how they get you. Yep.
Poignant. I'll tell you what I expected. I expected to see a show that was nostalgic and that I would enjoy, because I remember when I saw some episodes as a kid, I don't know if it was 3 episodes or 50, I really don't know, but I know that I saw it and I liked the show, and I really liked Scott Scapula, as he likes to be known. Scott Bakula, which, I like the guy, he's cool, and then that's why I was happy when he was in Enterprise, because I remembered liking him. So I expected to be happy about it and enjoy it and be taken for a wild ride and then be like, oh,
Ooh.
boy. But what did you actually get, Michael?
So what I got was a very, very, very slow introduction.
Oh my God.
You just gave Rico allergies.
Everyone is now dumber for having listened to what you said. No, it was a very slow introduction to the premise of the show. That's what I got.
Yeah. Rico, what did you get when you actually watched the first episode here?
I mean, Michael, you hit the one thing on the head with the slow, boring, like bar crawl of a story. You can tell, like many, if not most, first shows or first seasons, they're still trying to feel their way through it all. They got the idea. They know what they're trying to get. At least I think and hope, but it's just not necessarily executed that way. Yeah. So I got that, and also just I would have to agree with that. I mean, overall, that was it.
Yeah, what I got was a boring show. I I did not expect that. I expected something that I would enjoy and that would be fun and that would be nostalgic and yeah, cheesy and maybe not great, but that like I remember when I was a kid watching like he would say, "Oh boy," I think right before the first commercial break. Like he'd wake up and he'd be like, "Oh, where am I?" And he's in a boxing match. He's like, "Oh shoot!" And he goes like, "Oh boy," and we're like, "Ha ha ha! That's our guy. This is gonna be fun."
Right.
And so I was expecting that kind of like cheesiness and fun. And yeah, what I got was, oh boy, I just kept looking at the time like, what is going on? Like, and then I started like reconsidering like, was I just really stupid when I was a kid, or did this show suck? But then everything was okay, back in 1989, where we just didn't care if something sucked. And the conclusion I came to was that this was a great concept, and we enjoyed the concept, and we enjoyed what they did every week in and week out. And this was just not a great pilot, I think, is what it boils down to.
Yeah.
I think also once that pilot aired, or let's just say maybe the first couple of episodes, like in production, they were like, okay, guys, we need to do something to really, we gotta up the ante here. We gotta do something, because a big part of what Quantum Leap is that whole, here I am, now there I am over here, like in this time period, in that time period.
Boy.
And the old boy, and the bells and the whistles of the, all of that, and the flashiness of like, what's behind Ryan with the smoke, and just the thing that's gonna like really make you look forward to what else is about to happen, and quicker dialogue, and I think probably less narration also, and just more story as well.
Yeah, there was a lot of like inner, like first person voiceover inside of his own head, kind of like, wait, what's going on? What? Wait, who is this? Who am I? Like, why do I look different? Like all. Like,
why do I look different?
Yeah, that there was a lot of that going on, like in his head, and like I guess in the beginning more than like throughout the rest of this part one episode, which is it's just the first part, so we didn't really see the entire. I mean, I didn't want to watch any more of it, so.
That's all the time we have this week.
Gosh. I don't get any shows anymore.
No, I mean, it's like, I agree that it's like that they were just figuring this out. Maybe they just, I think that there was a slower pace of writing back in the late 80s too. Like you look at Star Trek The Next Generation 2-part episode, that was a slow one too.
The first one?
Yeah. Encounter at Farpoint. Yeah. So, you have to look at some of these things with a grain of salt too, to say, okay, well, yeah, they were just trying to figure this out. Because they were just trying to figure it out. I guess it took them a long time to get through a first episode, and they're trying to introduce all these different things. Like, for instance, the fact that Al couldn't tell Sam a lot of stuff that Ziggy knew. So I can't even tell you your last name. Maybe
that was weird.
Well, but because he was trying to call his dad, and like he didn't know his last name, so he couldn't ask for whatever his name was, Beckett, because he didn't remember his own last name. And so if he knew his last name and he could call his dad, then maybe he could influence the timeline. And that's probably a no-no, as we all know, in time travel shows, right? Or time travel stories.
I found myself very disinterested in the story of what was going on in 1956. I didn't care about his friend. I didn't care about the X2s. I didn't care about this lady, because I immediately knew that none of this matters, because none of these characters are going to be here next week. So how does anybody...
Well, they would be there next week, because this is part one of a two-part.
Right, but in general, I'm just saying once you realize what the formula is, how do you keep people's attention where there are only 2 characters, really 1.5 characters, that go from week to week, and the rest is characters that you don't care about because who cares? They're gone next week. They're gone next week. So everything is a puzzle more so than, you know, interesting characters or character development. So I didn't care about the characters. I didn't care about the story. What I did care about was Sam Beckett's actual story of what happened and what's going on, and that's what we got none of. You know.
But here's the other thing. In other episodes, you do start to care about those characters of the week. So it look, you know, it's the pilot. It's the show is about Sam Beckett going through time, da da da. So I understand the need or the want to really focus on that and really draw attention to that, and you know, him figuring out what's going on, how am I doing this, and why don't I look the same? But you still want to care about the people that he's interacting with. You started to kind of get a bit of a glimpse of it, and also of Sam's personality when he was talking to Al and saying things like, well, what about her? I don't want to just leave them like this. I don't want them to, you know, basically he's saying, I don't want to screw him over, even though I'm, you know, I think at that point he realized he wasn't going to be here, you know, in that body long. So we started to see glimpses of Sam caring, which gave me a small little bit of wanting to care about those characters too. But I kind of wish that I felt that way in the beginning.
Which kind of brings me to a question I was thinking about when I was watching it. You know, for me, this style of knowing that we're not going to see these characters ever again, it makes me not care about the characters of the story, because it feels like there's no consequence other than the fact that he can't leap to the next thing. Presumably, they had to raise the stakes there. But the question is, what do you think of this episodic procedural style that we used to have back in the 80s and 90s, as opposed to the more serialized style that we have today, where there's much more character development and, you know, seasonal story arcs and 7-year story arcs and all that? I mean, there's something to be said for the fact that when you turn on Quantum Leap, you could have missed 10 episodes and it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. You can watch them out of order and it really doesn't matter. It's okay. So that's great. You can watch it. You can watch anything. There's no binging needed. And also, you know what you're going to get. You know exactly what to expect. You know what's going to happen week to week. You know they're going to figure it out. You know kind of what's going to happen from beginning, middle, and end. What do you guys think about that style versus television nowadays, Michael?
Well, I mean, it's a different era. I mean, they didn't have streaming back then, so you couldn't binge a show unless you like bought the VHS tapes and then watched the series from beginning to end on VHS. Which Ryan did have a bunch of the Next Generation VHS tapes back in the day.
And Deep Space Nine.
And Deep Space Nine, yeah. But I mean, it's a totally different era, and so back then, like you mentioned, you could have missed 10 episodes, and so then what? And you couldn't go back and like, oh man, let's go back to episode 10 so we can catch up to get to episode 20. You couldn't do that. Unless I said you you really were into the show and you wanted to go and write with a handwritten letter and mail order the.
You can always record it. Tapes. You can record the VHS.
You could program your VCR to, but then you start getting backed up, and then you start running out of VHS tapes, and then so it was a much different time. So I think for that time. The episodic style worked, and for this time that we're in now, the serialized shows allows them to tell a much wider story, a much longer story. I mean, you think about something like Game of Thrones; it's like a long, really super long fantasy movie. That's what you're watching. You know, you're not tuning in to see, oh, what are those Lannisters up to these days. You're watching
the Lannisters,
right?
Keeping up with the Lannisters.
Yeah, you just want to watch this story, this long story unfold. Where back then it was just like, oh, let's see what kind of mess Sam got himself into this week. Oh boy.
Right, Rico, what do you think about the episodic style of the olden days?
That was great, Mike. I don't know. Maybe I'm old-fashioned in this sense, but I really think that style of episode could still exist. And I think there was something to be said about that style of episode because you really did look forward to what was the story of the week next week. And I still think there's room for that. Like, let's just say, for the sake of argument, they decide to reboot, or bring Quantum Leap back in some way. Would they do it in a serialized way, or would they basically, Sam's leaping into blah blah blah? Oh boy, here we go. You know, I think it could work. I think it could still work. I think there's still something to be said about that type of storyline, and not in a binge watching sort of way. I mean, it could be done in a binge watching sort of way, but it could be done in a way where we got to wait a week for the next episode. I mean, we're still getting that with streamed shows, and it's not to say that everything is a Netflix style or Hulu style production. We still get it, and we still eagerly anticipate the days, counting down the days till we can see the next one. So,
yeah, you know, the thing is with the show like this, again, is that there are two characters. There's really one character, and then like Al
His
that pops in.
yeah.
And he's not even really a sidekick that's like with him. He's just kind of a guy that shows up, you know, and tells him, "Oh, Ziggy." I remember always hitting, "Oh, Ziggy, Ziggy," you know. So I feel like you need more, especially nowadays. You need more. You need character development. There's zero character development because there are no characters. There's just the one guy, and he can't really have an arc without influence of other characters. He can't have a romance story. He can't have children growing up. He can't have getting fired from a job and then rehired at a new one, or moving to a different house. You know, and back in the day, episodic or you know, at least non-serialized, the sitcoms, at least you'd still have people getting married and people breaking up, and there was still something. So I think if they were to reboot something like Quantum Leap, which I agree, Rico, they totally can, I think they would need to add a couple little elements, like make Al a woman. And then maybe they start to have some kind of romantic situation, or figure out a way to introduce a third character, whether it's an actual sidekick that comes with him every time. And every time he wakes up, he's like, oh boy, you know, he knows that somewhere in this time is his other sidekick, and he has to find that person. They have to figure it out together, you know, something like that. And then maybe there's a romantic relationship there. There needs to be something that develops from episode to episode, season to season, to keep people's interest and for people to care. You know what I mean?
Well, one thing, I mean, I used to watch the show as a kid too, and one thing I do remember is there was a little bit of that. I mean, really, even with today's television, we still have episodic nature in a lot of sitcoms. But you're right that, yeah, people get married, and so there is always like an overarching like series or a season arc that this show still follows. And I remember in Quantum Leap, you know, Stan starts remembering more about himself, and and then also they're working on getting him home. And I remember there was like one time it was like a season finale or something where he actually made it home for some reason, but then he had to go back for some other reason or something.
That old gag.
Yeah, well, that's how they get you right there.
But see, what was cool about that, and I actually wish that they touched more on that and really focused more on these other characters. So you have the characters in the lab. You had Gushy, and that Gushy was the guy who had the bad breath. He was the one. He was the one that called up Al, was like, "He's sleeping." That was Gushy. And then Ziggy was the computer. But then you had the woman who he was in love with, and a couple of other scientists. It would have really been nice if they had like focused more on them, and maybe they could even do things like flashbacks that talk, you know, that have Sam and his girlfriend, or, you know, Sam and his friends, or maybe there's like some arch nemesis stuff going on that, let's say, almost delayed the beginning of the Quantum Leap program. Like they could do a lot of like, I mean, don't overkill it like they did on Arrow, but a lot of Arrow-style flashbacks that could really touch on stuff that happened prior, which is why things are happening today.
Are we writing the Quantum Leap reboot right now?
We really should. And if
I think we are, but I need, in order for me to sign off on it, I need to have my idea of where there's like a companion. There's a sidekick that always appears at the same time, but then they have to find each other. Sometimes they find each other right away. Sometimes it takes them to the end of the episode. Sometimes when he wakes up in a boxing match and it turns out it's actually his friend, you know, and they're like, what, hey, what do we do? I don't know. Hit me. Don't knock too hard, you know, or whatever.
But then they'd have to figure out that they're each other too, because they look like the people that they've left.
I think they would have to be able to see who the other person is.
Well, they're going to see
real.
The confusion on the other person's face, just like theirs, right? So
yeah, I was thinking about that, but that would be tough, you know, or unless they had like a code word. They had a code word where he shows up at the boxing match. I keep thinking of that one, but he's like, mustard? And he's like, mustard. All right.
Right. Yeah.
What a relief. I was about to get my ass beat.
Right. You almost threw me off this building. No, I love that though. That would be great, because that would be a nice comic relief type thing that would even surpass what Al basically was. Because Al was basically the comic relief.
Right.
Sam was the straight guy. You know, that was the Dean Martin, Jerry Lewis, but Al not being as Jerry Lewis, but you know, he was always like, oh man, look at that hot chick, and oh boy, whoo, what a night! I've been drinking all night, you know, and all that kind of stuff.
But now think about this idea.
All right.
You know how people right now love to have like political implications and social implications, which are always very important and fun and highbrow. Just imagine, right? The sidekick's a woman, right? So, and let's say they start having romantic feelings or whatever as season 3 progresses, but they can leap into men or women's bodies, right? So they're in 1968, and the townsfolk see the two of them kind of canoodling, but what they're seeing is two dudes doing it. And you know, and so they're, and you know, of course,
two African American dudes, even
and then
better,
or 1 and 1, and then Scott Bakula character is being like, immediately goes, no, it's okay, you know, it's actually, but then they're kind of like, well, hey, let people be people, you know, it's kind of like this weird,
love who you love.
What sci-fi does so well, which is we're just two people that are in love, and what you guys are seeing on the outside is your problem. But that they could really tackle issues like that really well, like that, I think.
I also really liked Rico's idea of going to flashbacks, and I had the idea that whatever they're dealing with in the flashback could help them solve like whatever dilemma that they have to solve in the
that makes it more serialized,
right?
But and here's the other twist. Remember, Sam's brain is a little Swiss cheese, so maybe he's not remembering everything. So it takes like the sidekick to be like, yo, remember that time when we were at the thing and that thing hit? He's like, kind of, you gotta, dude, we got 5 minutes or this building's gonna blow up. You gotta remember. Oh, okay. You know what I mean? And they're trying to like, you know, up the ante because Sam needs to remember in order for this to happen so that can happen or something like that.
Anybody at NBC that's watching this right now,
in the comments below, let us know. Well, I also think, Michael, you were onto something too, which is connecting all of the leaps around one big issue. Like it's not just, you know, going and seeing Farmer Bill and then going over and seeing the formation of the band Anthrax or whatever, but it's actually like all kind of connected and they're just going back and forth. Did they ever go in the future or only in the past?
Only in the past, and the thing about it is Sam could only go within his lifetime. There were a couple of episodes where that actually surpassed. Like he ended up back in, this was a beautiful episode because he ended up leaping like basically during the Civil War. And there was this guy.
Oh boy.
That's not his lifetime.
Exactly. And that was part of the what the F, the other what the F, and it took place on a plantation. It was during slavery, and there was this black guy who was a servant in the house, a house servant, and at the end of it all, he was freed, and they were like, "So what are you gonna do?" And he was like, I don't know. I think I'm going to go up north and, just start my life over again. And he's like, well, I think I need a new name. I feel like I feel like I have a new life and I feel like I could be my own person. I feel really like a king. I feel like a king.
Nice.
That was the descendant of Dr. Martin Luther King.
Wow.
Boom, boom, boom. So, and they did that a couple of times. They touched on like, historical things,
Right.
that are obviously tweaked, but still.
I hope, and you would know better than us, but I hope they addressed that well to where it didn't, because one thing that we don't like to see is like, oh, I feel like a king and I owe it all to this white person that saved me. Like, let him, hopefully he saved himself and inspired himself. And it wasn't just like, because then it just basically white people claiming victory over what black people did.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it is Sam Beckett who kind of saved the whole family situation, or that whole situation, and then he leaps. But what was great about Quantum Leap is, and they did deal with racial issues. They dealt with,
I remember that.
Yeah, stuff dealing with the South and slavery, stuff like that. So, and they do it in a way that, I mean, at the end of the day, they're all things always end up cool because of Sam. So in essence, it is kind of white savior, but it doesn't really come off that way because a lot of these characters are still very strong in their own right. And so and I think that's one of the great things about Sam, because he comes off as so like cool and pure and kind and all these things. And he never really, he's not the type of guy to really take that credit. He's just like, this is what I know based on the fact that I come from the future. I got this knowledge. I'm dropping this knowledge, and this can help save the situation.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's a white savior. I mean, Sam could easily
Sam
could easily be a black guy or a Latino guy or an Asian dude.
I mean, let's face it, it's a pretty white show. I mean, like Sam and Al and.
Oh yeah, it's a very white show. But again, it does tackle a lot of things that. Yeah, it still comes off as white savior, but I think because of Sam's character, I don't know. It works.
I do remember that a little bit. And we do try to focus more on talking about just this one first specific episode, but we decided to talk about way more interesting things than this first episode. I blame myself, but mostly Michael, but it's just because, Jesus, this episode.
It's probably my fault.
Let's talk about something interesting.
I want to talk a little bit about, there's a little bit of what do you call it? Objectification of women in this episode.
Sure. But this is the 50s.
Well, no,
I noticed that too.
Like even up at the top of the episode, like whenever this is in the future.
You're right.
When Al is driving in his super fast sports car, and he drives up, and there's this woman, helpless woman on the side of the road, who's wearing like the skimpy outfit, and like
so bad.
Yeah.
Oh,
just the whole thing was terrible. And the fact that she's just standing there waiting to be picked up, and she's like, "Hey," and then they do a series of like the worst pickup lines to each other.
Innuendo.
It was. She hears the wolf, and he's like, "I'm more friendlier than the wolf," and she's like,
right.
"That's what I'm afraid of." So she ends up in the car.
Wait, and he said something like, I'd fix your light, but this is my only ride or something like that. He's like,
my only tuxedo.
He goes, and you're late for your wedding? And she goes, oh no, she says, and you're late for your wedding? And he says, but we haven't even met yet. And I'm like, fuck, dude, what? That's when I actually looked at IMDb. I'm like, this was written in the 90s and it said 1989. And I was like, still no excuse.
Yeah.
But
and the acting was whatever.
But think about the 80s. But think about the 80s and the type of writing that came out of that.
Right.
That type of writing that came in. Think about a lot of the movies that had a lot of
Married with Children right there. I mean, you got like every scene Kelly Bundy comes in a short skirt.
But see, that was deliberate. That was the humor of it.
Right.
Whereas this was just like bad writing and bad acting, I thought.
Do we know what year this is in the future this is supposed to take? It seems like it's in the future even from us. It seems like.
Yeah, because the car. Yeah,
right.
The car was super futuristic.
Of course, back in the day, we thought we'd have flying cars.
Yeah, they're probably like in the year 2014.
Yeah.
Where people live in space shuttles and grass
Plagues are
turns into
gone.
cows.
Right. Plagues and racism, no more. Yeah. Moving on.
Yeah, I also noticed another typical 80s thing, which was the 555 number.
Oh yeah.
Remember, TV shows always be like,
Oh yeah.
555, 3,
One,
and
two,
I was
one,
like,
two,
dude,
right.
I hate
That's
that
too
part.
many numbers.
Yeah. You know what else I noticed? Remember when his first leap, his leap was he's flying through the air and he's like, you see like the camera or whatever that was just going through the air, and then it starts to center down on whatever, and woof, you know, he wakes up, as opposed to the all this.
The clock is going super fast.
Yeah. So there was, that was still a work in progress as far as.
So they had a different theme song later on?
Yeah.
Because that's what I put in my notes. I was like, boy, they didn't spend a penny on the theme song or the song was just and then like it was clouds. I was like, jeez, guys.
I think it was like the beginning. Well, it was the theme song, and then they kind of remixed it, and then they really remixed it towards the end. But yeah, the theme song was just basically all right, here's the theme song. Can we get on with the story now?
I just remember always kind of mistaking the Quantum Leap and the MacGyver theme song. Like I always got those two mixed up.
MacGyver.
I think it was the same
song.
people, wasn't it? The same production company?
I mean, probably.
I don't know.
You know.
Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da,
And they would always freeze frame like in the, da 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 da. Rico Anderson, da 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 da. Michael Kinney and Rosenberg.
Speaking of MacGyver, like MacGyver's buddy was in this too, like
Who?
Weird Ernie or whatever.
Oh yeah, I didn't notice him.
I remember that.
He's the guy who's always like getting MacGyver into trouble. He's like,
yeah, I remember.
I don't really remember MacGyver. So somebody write WTF MacGyver so that we can watch that show, please.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we can't watch it.
Or WTF Battlestar Galactica, so we could see Dean Stockwell, even though he's not in the first episode.
Right. That's right. Wait, which one?
The new one.
Yeah.
I was going to say, Dean Stockwell's not in the other one. Okay.
Yeah, there's nowhere to find the original
The old
Battlestar
one.
Galactica online. We tried to stream it, but we can't find it.
Oh, it's on Amazon Prime.
Yeah,
Amazon Prime.
maybe.
Yep. Amazon Prime.
For purchase.
Maybe.
Anyway, there was
on Tubi or one of those free streaming things.
Yeah, maybe. There was one sweet line. So, obviously we can tell that Sam's going to be like the sweet guy that's trying to do the right thing. Like when he says, oh, do you want to dance? And she's like, with my stomach? And he's like, oh, I could reach around, I'm like, oh, what a sweetie. But then it also shows that he's going to be like, it tells you right away that he's going to leap into the body sometimes of someone who's a jerk to his wife, and he's going to be nice, and the wife's going to be like, what's gotten into you? I'm not used to you treating me like a human being, or and he's going to be the white knight in every episode.
Yeah.
But if they had to pick somebody to do that, at least they pick Scott Bakula. That's what I say, because he totally works.
Well, he's perfect for it, and you really couldn't get a better guy for that role.
Yeah, I agree.
Really did nail it. Which you think about it, you're just like, I could see why he got chosen as Captain Archer.
Well, I guess we have to think back to our reboot, and who would we cast as Sam Beckett?
Huh.
Oh yeah, I was thinking about that.
And also, would they redo it like a la Battlestar Galactica, or would they continue it a la?
If it's us, I think we'd redo it, like with all of our cool new ideas that are the best.
Yeah. Who would you cast as Samuel Beckett Smith? Michael.
Oh, me? I was asking you guys, though. You have to answer before I do, so I can have time to think about it.
I was trying to buy myself time, because I actually thought of that like 20 minutes ago when we were talking about it, and I still couldn't come up with anything. So I was trying to buy myself more time. Who would be a good...
Who are actors these days?
I don't even know.
Well, Rico E. Anderson.
Oh, yeah. What about Rico?
Hey,
No, but you have to be able to come off as a nice guy.
This is true. So maybe I'd be the alternate universe. I'd be that. Remember that they had an evil story arc. Like I would have to be the evil leaper.
The mirror universe, quantum leaper.
Wait a minute. I'm a nice, lovable guy.
No, nobody's buying it. No.
But I'm an Emmy voter. You know,
That's
come
cool.
on.
So besides yourself, who would you cast as the new?
He could be Al.
I could totally be Al. Dude, I'm telling
you.
You
can call me Al. Call me Al.
What if we did a female lead?
Thought about that too. That's also in vogue lately. You just changed the name to Sammy, S-A-M with an I.
Yeah, Sam Beckett.
Or Sam. Yeah.
Samantha. Yeah, people like to do that nowadays, and it's perfectly fine. There's nothing that is attaching him to be a male character. You wouldn't have to change anything, really.
I know 20 years ago, Will Smith would have been like at the top of the list, if you think about it. You know, he
20 years ago,
more of a movie actor too, though. You have to think TV also.
Yeah,
it's a Fresh Prince.
Yeah, that's true. But today,
but that was before he became a movie actor.
Right. But who would play Sam Beckett today, be it male, female? I don't know. That's a tough one because obviously they would have to have all those, You know
who could possibly do it? Is the dude from This Is Us, the black dude from This Is Us? What's his name?
Oh yeah, I don't know his name, but yeah, he could do it. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, he could kill it because he definitely has the acting chops and he can play that kind of character.
Yeah. He plays sweetheart. He has more of a softer undertone, though, that works great for the show and other stuff that I've seen him in. But as far as
he also played Christopher Darden in the O.J. Simpson trial thing. So
he did.
He can do different. He can move it around.
That's true. I mean, yeah, I could see it, but like off the cuff.
That's my answer too. So.
As for women, I think God, I just never remember actors' names because I just don't care about them very much. But the lady who now doesn't have a show, from The Good Place, what's her name?
Kristen Bell.
Kristen Bell. Yeah, she could do something.
I can see that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Keep talking as you're talking because I have to plug my computer in. I'm gonna die.
Great. So let's talk about you, Rico. This is the time of the show where we talk about you for a minute. And, we want to know, what are you working on lately?
Well, let me tell you, Brian. Excuse me. I'm only allowed to talk about it once. And then I can't ever talk about it again. But
this is the best interview we've ever done.
Yeah. It's
okay.
Nice. Anyway, yeah, but let's why not? Let's talk about you for a minute, Rico, shall we? Since we already teased it. You are doing lots of cool things. First of all, if people recognize Rico, you obviously know him as the Mocklin Doctor in the Orville.
How could you not recognize that?
And
probably more than Boros, but because you can see still my mouth structure.
What's Boros?
Boros was a character in Star Trek Renegades. Yeah.
Ryan, you didn't know that? Didn't you produce that movie?
Yeah, that's where we met. But I wanted him to explain.
Oh, okay.
Star Trek Renegades.
I thought you were losing your memory.
Yeah, no.
Maybe you quantum leapt.
He's doing that.
Quantum slept. I quantum slept through this episode. Rico, you're quite the character actor. You've done a lot of aliens. You've been a Siphon called Boros. You've been a Mocklin Doctor in the Orville. You've been a Vulcan in Star Trek Horizon. Am I missing any?
Well, just recently at this little thing called Virtual TrekCon. Maybe you've heard about it. Probably not.
Right. It was so good. You were a Klingon.
Yeah. I was a Klingon. I was made up as a Klingon, which added to my prosthetic resume. Thanks to yourself and
Scott Baker and Michael Kenyon Rosenberg and Mr. Tom Supernant, Emmy Award-winning makeup artist that did you up and made you look like an actual real Klingon.
Yeah.
Were you worried that he was going to make you up like a 60s Klingon and just be like, oh, you already got a goatee. You're all set. Here's a gray,
right, I know.
Here's a gray sweater. There you go.
I think I'm good on this end. Yeah. You know, I'd be the first Klingon with a fro, but hey, you know, IDIC. So, no, I was actually, I mean, Klingons are my favorite Star Trek aliens.
Your favorite meat?
Exactly. The other white meat.
That's Targ.
Oh, that's right. My bad. No, I've always loved Klingons, and so it was a great time. It was fun, and you know, it was just as professional as I thought it would be because it was awesome. It was an awesome experience. You know, it's one of those things where you wish you could have worn the makeup longer than you did, but it was a beauty, and it was great to go back to that prosthetic world since the last time I did it was the Mocklin Doctor. So.
Yeah, you look perfect. I mean, the after pictures were like spot on. You looked like you belonged, you know, in the brig of the Enterprise D for all your reckless shenanigans.
Just misunderstood. Well, hey, we all hope, as I do as well, to be a part of that universe even more so with a lot of the new Trek projects that are coming out, and you know, really looking forward to all of them, but also being a part of them one day. So yeah.
We're gonna cut that part out.
Okay.
The nice stuff.
You can cut it out. I don't want to.
Yeah. Thank you, Michael. You're a good guy.
Not because I like you, but just because I was just too lazy to do any editing.
It's a lot of work.
I do all that on a Sunday, but yeah, that's going on, and but yeah, I've done a lot of TV outside of prosthetic work in the form of 2.5 Men, Two Broke Girls. I'm recurring currently on SWAT. I'm on the new Apple TV Plus series Truth Be Told with Octavia Spencer and Ron Cephas Jones from This Is Us. Yeah, a lot of different TV shows and movies, and I'm in the current hit horror film Get Gone with Scream Queen Lynn Shay. So I'm also hosting a talk show with Rochelle Henry and Sasha Krabel called The Lightning Hour.
The Lightning Hour, brand new, right? You just started doing that.
Yeah. We're on our, I believe, 5th episode that we're about to release, and we're a hour-long energy drink for your mind. Wow. Great interviews with different people within the industry. A lot of fun, just, you know, energetic interviews, and 2 amazing hosts, and it's a fun time, you know, and it was created in quarantine, and very excited about it.
But what about us people that have high blood pressure and can't drink energy drinks?
Well, that's why we say it's for the mind. We don't encourage actual energy drinks because, you know, they're really not good for you.
No, they're terrible.
Right. So, you know.
Diabetes of the mind.
Yeah. That's the Mirror Universe version of the Lightning Hour.
So you said you have 2 great hosts on the Lightning Hour, but if I remember correctly, there are 3 hosts in total. Which is the one that's not great?
Well, I'm great. Maybe I should have said 3. I see what you're doing here, Huss.
I think you should have said 3.
And you're not gonna rope me into this. I will not do it. No, they're all great. I would like to think I'm great. Damn it, I'm great. I'm great too. It's a lot of fun, and it's yeah, man. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and check it out. We have we've already had some amazing guests. We have some really, really amazing future guests, and it's a fun time.
Can you tell us what guests you've had so far?
Sure. We've had Cameron Nino, who is a 16-year-old musician. He can play guitar. He can play violin. He can play a variety of instruments. He's also a producer. He's produced his own EP that came out right before Corona hit, around February or so. very much involved in the environment and just a social activist as well. And just very, very, very energetic young man as far as his ambitions, his goals, the things he's already accomplished.
16, you say? He's 16 years old?
16, yeah, he's doing all of that.
Oof.
That'll change.
Make me feel inadequate. Yeah.
Wait till he turns 17. No, he's a great young man. We also have, and this is kind of a blast from the past, we also have Paul Anthony from Full Force. If anybody remembers Full Force, they're a group who basically was around in the 80s and the 90s. They were responsible for like Lisa and Cult Jam.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah, they worked with pretty much everybody in the 90s, including like they worked with James Brown, they worked with UTFO, they worked, they had their own music. They worked on, they were as actors, they worked on the movie House Party and with Kid and Play. And so that's a really fun interview. We have some amazing ones coming up as well. So, yeah.
Okay, well, what we'll do is we'll make sure to include the links for that in the description box below. So everybody go check that out. Make sure you check out and support Rico's new show called The Lightning Hour. What are you guys on? You guys on YouTube and iTunes or what?
Just YouTube for now.
Got it.
So we encourage everybody to please subscribe to our YouTube page. Obviously, follow us on Instagram and as well as Twitter and Facebook. And just for more updates and you know the drill. Just weekly postings about what's happening, what's been happening, what will be happening, and
what's happening now.
Exactly.
One more question about that podcast, because it sounds so fun and interesting and new. You'd never really done a podcast before as like not one of your own. What have you learned in the last 5 episodes that you didn't expect? Has there been anything that you thought, wow, that was more work than I expected, or did something come up that you'd never considered before?
Myself along with Sasha Kerbal, we both write the script for each episode. And it's a very detailed script because we go through the person's history as an artist, where they're from, what they've done, what they're currently doing. We also focus a lot on what charities they may represent, may support, things like that. A lot of positive stuff. And I have to say that one of the more challenging things is just writing that in the script and putting all that together and just being aware of those specifics and what questions to ask. We try not to ask a lot of the traditional questions, but people do want to know about those things as well. Where are you from? You played in this TV show. You have this cause. Let's talk about it. And so we like to really show the audience a well-rounded person, and just not only their career, but what they're all about as a human being. And that's very important to our show, to show the humanity in a person as well. So, but yeah, writing that script can be a little challenging at times. Besides that, it's been cool. I mean, editing can be a little challenging at times too, because you do have to figure out what to keep, what to take out. You want to account for time and stuff like that. But yeah. So that's
a lot more work than we do.
Yeah.
We just watch TV and talk about it. That's all
we don't even really talk about it sometimes. Sometimes we just say what we think it should be. Like what we just we're like, I'm looking at, I've got pages of notes here, and I'm like, no, that was boring. I'm like, let's just talk about what we would have made it.
What do we want?
I mean,
so the whole script you wrote just ends up getting thrown out the window, basically.
Yeah. But it's good that you guys do that and you stick with it. It makes it sound very professional, and it probably makes the guests feel really important that you are treating them as an important subject and really diving deep and getting to know them.
Our guests so far, a couple of our guests were very surprised that we delved deep into like their bios and things like that.
Surprised like creeped out, or surprised like compliment?
Yeah, how'd you know about that one incident just I don't know if it's just them thinking that it's just yet another interview show where we didn't do our homework per se, which is a little weird to say, but there's a lot of interviewers out nowadays.
Mhm.
Quarantine has brought a lot of people out of the woodwork as far as, hey, let's create a talk show. And that could easily be in the form of IG Live, which is here I am on top, here's you on the bottom. We're talking about whatever, we're interviewing. And those are great. There's a lot of really cool ones. But I think with some of the interviews, or a couple of the interviews, you just have a couple of the guests who are just surprised that we were, I don't want to say it's professional, but just very thorough with what we're focusing on, which is them, but in the way that we focus on them, the structure in which we execute it. And a lot of that is definitely due to the three of our different personalities. I mean, you have me who I am a Black man of a certain age, I'll say that, who's had his own experiences, life experiences from all different types of life, as an actor, as a Black man growing up in the United States, as an uncle, as a person who just has a few decades of knowledge. You have Sasha Kerbal, who's from Russia, who has a son who used to be a radio personality, and that worldly perspective where we may not know certain things in that respect. Rochelle Henry, who's still a teenager, who an amazing woman who has written and produced and directed her own works, and just has that Gen Z personality and that knowledge of all things Gen Z. So it's like you put all three of us together and you have a lot of different views and, angles and different things that just add on to the show depending on who the character is. And it's just, we can relate in a lot of different ways. And it's just working. It's fun. And it makes for a very interesting conversation inside of the whole conversation itself. So
sounds rad. So we'll be sure to include all that in the description box below, and we'll check it out. And people go subscribe. You know how we said the best thing you could ever do for our channel is just subscribe, hit the bell icon. That's the best thing you could do for Rico's channel too. Give it a shot. What do you got to lose? Like 5 seconds of your life. Who cares? Give it a shot.
I'm gonna go do it right now. I mean, not
right now.
Not right now. But by the way, Rico, you did mention that you were a man of a certain age. Do you know that there was a television show called Men of a Certain Age?
I do remember it, yes.
And it was starring
Men of a Certain Age.
Scott Bakula, which brings us right back to where we were. So
fun story. I was actually a background on one episode.
Me too, on the pilot.
Of a certain age. Oh, I was like episode 5 or something like
that.
I was in the pilot. Yeah, that was fun. I was like, but Scott Bakula. All right,
WTF, Men of a Certain Age.
Yeah, Platypus Man. WTF Platypus Man. What was the one with David Spade?
The comedy?
Yeah.
There's a few different ones. So there was what was the one? Rules of Engagement.
I think Hank Azaria might have been. No, that was Herman's Head.
Yeah, that was a good one. Oh, WTF Herman's Head.
Yeah, WTF Herman's Head. But what's the one with David Spade? You know what I'm the one I'm thinking of.
It was he worked at a new magazine or something.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of.
We were my wife and I just watched the pilot of that.
And it would show like the magazine,
Right.
Anyway, WTF that show. If you guys know what that is, you don't even have to WTF.
I literally just watched it the other night with my wife.
Tell us what it is.
It was with Wendy Malick.
Right.
Right.
Hilarious.
Had a lot of cool and I feel like Hank Azaria was in that one too, but maybe I'm just still.
No, it was older guy.
Brian Posehn was in it.
Oh really? I didn't know that. Anyway, tell us in the comments below what that show is, because we got to finish this show out.
Just shoot me. Just shoot me.
Just shoot me. That's
fine,
it.
But first tell us what the show's called.
Just shoot me.
Right.
Yeah, that was it. Just shoot me. That was a great one. WTF, just shoot me is the point.
That's going to be a fun one.
Anyway, we're down to the final block, the final segment, the final sector of our show that Mike affectionately likes to call The Terrible Twos.
I love to call it that stupid dumbass name.
Rika's like, I didn't understand this weird energy that just started happening between you two.
I gotta go plug in my computer again. You guys don't.
Yeah, no, this is The Terrible Twos. Mike came up with this name called The Terrible Twos. I was like, whatever. I don't.
This
That's just
idiotic
really,
name.
He gets really aggressive about names.
Stupid, idiotic, dumb, stupid name.
You just fall for it, Ryan? I mean,
Yeah. So I gave in, was like, all right, whatever makes you happy, you know?
Whatever
like,
stupid thing you want to call it, Mike.
So the Terrible Twos are the final two questions of this podcast, mercifully. The first one is, did we even talk about this first episode? It's probably best that we did. I mean, it was just, anyway, scale of 1 to 10, Michael Kenyon Rosenberg. The first episode of Quantum Leap, which was done in 1989. Scale of 1 to 10, what would you give it?
I'll go. I just got to give it a 3. Sorry, Bakula. They didn't do in this first half of this first episode, part 1 here. They didn't really accomplish what I think even what they set out to accomplish.
But it's funny how back in the day, you didn't have to have a good pilot. You didn't even have to have a good season or two. Networks were just way more patient with shows. Whereas nowadays, your pilot needs to be gangbusters. 89, whatever. Rico, scale of 1 to 10. What do you give this first episode?
Michael, you do, bro.
I said I was sorry.
You know, well, I'm gonna be. Listen, I'm gonna give it. I'm going to give it a 5.5, and I'm going to tell you why. Because I'm always going to give extra points for sci-fi.
Mm-hmm.
Because, and again, I love a good time travel story. So I'm going to give extra points just on that curve alone. I see what they were going with it. I get what they were trying to do. If I had just seen it for the first time and never seen any of the other episodes, I would feel like, you know, I'm going to give it a shot.
Wait, that's the next question.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So you give it a 3 point. What did you just give it a 5?
5.5.
5.5. Yeah.
And Michael, you gave it a what?
3.
Yeah, I think I'm hovering right around there. I think I'm giving it a 3.5 because, and that's solely because of two things. Number one is the concept. Great concept.
Bakula.
And the other one is Scott Bakula. And also to a lesser degree, Dean Stockwell. I remember liking him a lot more.
Yeah,
but I was like, he's not that, this character's not that great. And that outfit he was wearing, I'm like, it was supposed to be a futuristic outfit, but it was clearly a 1989 outfit.
Yeah.
I'm like, it looks like you just took that out of Whitney Houston's closet, dude. I don't know. I don't know what you're thinking, but that's not future.
How do I know video? Yeah.
Yeah. How will I know? So anyway, yeah, 3.5, you know, it pains me to say that, but it is good concept, you know, good actor, likable actors, I should say, that would have given it like a 7-ish or 6-ish. But the execution of that pilot episode was very, you know, it was boring. Nobody cares. I didn't care.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So second question of the terrible tease is, for the purposes of this podcast, we watched the first episode of Quantum Leap. Now that the podcast is over, Michael Kenyon Rosenberg, would you watch the second episode?
So it's actually a tough question because am I basing this based on the episode that we just watched, or am I basing it based on what I remember as a kid?
However you want to answer it.
Well,
probably the first.
It's a split decision. So if I'm basing it based on this first part of this first pilot episode that we just watched, no way. I mean, I'm not.
No way, Jose.
I want to sit through more of this very, very slow story. But if I'm basing it off of what I remember as a kid, yeah, I'll give it a couple more episodes. But based on just this first episode, no. No way.
What about you, Rico? Based on this first episode that we just saw, that we were forced to watch, would you watch the second episode?
Well, here's the thing. You guys know me.
I know Curtis, man.
Kinda. I mean, I kind of know you.
We've hung out a couple of times.
Yeah.
Broke bread. No, I am the type of guy who likes to see things through. And based on that, I'm usually willing to give more of a chance than a lot of people would. As we know, people are quick to knock something down even before they've seen it. I won't mention certain franchises, but I think we all know what I'm talking about.
All of them.
Yes. My answer to that would be, based on that, yes, I would watch the second episode.
But only the first 5 seasons.
Of that show. Right. Yeah. A 6th season? Hell no. No, because I'm just the guy who needs to see it through. I need to see it through. If I have an investment in it, I need to see it through. And again, I love a good time travel story. So that alone is going to be the bell and the whistle that's going to...
Sounds like that's more about you than about the first episode.
No!
You would just watch any second episode of all? Is there anything that you wouldn't watch the second episode of?
Listen, based on what I saw from the first episode, I would watch it. I would watch it.
He gave it a 5.5, so that's better than than
Ezra.
Not, yeah.
And I'd be in the comment section defending it.
Yeah. This is the part of the episode where I say, "Oh boy," breaks my heart. It breaks my heart. It breaks my faith of the heart, Scott Bakula.
I see what you did. What you did there.
Thank you. And it was a valiant, try. It was a good enterprise that they embarked upon. But thank you. But I wouldn't watch the second episode. I wouldn't. It wasn't good. Yeah. No offense. I loved it as a kid, and I'm sure it got better. And I would watch other episodes here and there if they happened to be on. But if I just watched this first episode and somebody said, "Do you want to watch the second?" I'd be like, "No, I'm good. I'm good." 20 minutes ago. Anyway.
Yeah, you'll watch some MTV music videos.
Yeah. But we still love you, Quantum Leap, and we still love you, Scott Bakula. And I look like a Star Wars Twi'lek with his arms coming out, or as we were saying before, Pippi Longstocking. Like, look at I'm just pulling out my hero, Pippi Longstocking, everybody! Crazy!
Your hair has muscles.
Yeah.
And fingers.
And thank you, Lawrence Niels, for suggesting this show. I mean, I guess thank you, but
but also boo for picking on us.
What's the matter, you Lawrence?
Of Geek Life Rules, and he did some awesome cosplay cabaret stuff for us in Virtual TrekCon. Check out Geek Life Rules on YouTube. He does awesome stuff. We love Lawrence Niels. We love Geek Life Rules. We love you too.
Me?
Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is, this podcast.
No, you have to say it to. You're skipping ahead again. You need to tell people that if they want us to review a show, that they have to write WTF the show in WTF Megadeth. I mean, that's not a show, but
we covered that. We said that throughout the whole podcast. Okay, so if you guys want us to watch and review the first series of shows, say WTF Robotech.
Ryan's really tired right now, so it's hard for him to remember all these things.
It's just hot here in LA, and I can't think straight when it's hot. Or WTF Frasier, or WTF Thundercats.
Seinfeld.
Punky Brewster.
Yeah, Punky. Henry!
Very good.
Thanks. Anyway. So what I'm trying to say a second time is that this podcast was very creative in creating the new Quantum Leap reboot that is going to happen. By Michael Kenyon Rosenberg and Ryan T. Husk, probably not Rico.
I'll never be back on the show again.
This podcast quantum leapt into the future where we rebooted the series Quantum Leap.
This podcast took us where no man and or woman has gone before.
Nice. Archer would be proud. So that's about it. Thank you all so much for joining us. And as Mike likes to say,
don't forget to watch the first of things.
That's cracks me up. Thanks so much, Rico Anderson. You were awesome. We'll see you next time, guys.
Thanks, man.